Well, a couple of things new. Number one, this beehive, brand new. Remember, I had one in Oak Island in North Carolina, but they were killed by the mosquito spray. So I moved to Florida. Yeah, big changes. And I got a new hive. Now, raising bees in Florida apparently is much different than raising bees in North Carolina. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this is a new hive, so I'm just putting on a feeder. You can see I've got about 5 frames with bees, and then I've got 5 new frames that they've got to fill. So this is a brand new box, and I'm putting some food on just to help them out. Even though there's still some stuff out there, some flowers still out there. I'm just going to give them some sugar water 1-to-1 and just give them some little support there to get them going. And let me tell you the things that are different here in Florida from raising bees in North Carolina. Number one, the weather. Yes, well, shocking, right? I'm actually in Southwest Florida, and the weather is surprisingly nice for December. It is. And there are still things flowering, but it doesn't get cold, really. It does get a little cold. It drops down in the 50s at night sometimes, but not extreme colds like it was in North Carolina, where, basically I had to close up the hive for the winter and hope for the best in the spring and talk about feeding them then, huh? But this is a little different. Yeah, I'm giving them a little bit more food here because, like I said, they're a new hive. So I actually got the first box filled up pretty quickly, which I think is because I was feeding them. I do have a problem with ants, and I have tried several different methods to control that, so I'm still working on that, and I'll let you know when I figure it out. But still feeding them on my second box on, and they're starting to fill that up, so that's nice. Next new thing about North Carolina, you have to register your bees, and you have to have them inspected. So that is on the agenda here to get them. I just want to make sure they're going to make it the first month, but that is the next thing I have to do. I'm going to have to register them and get them inspected, and then register them and then get them inspected. So that's something new. Here you can see I'm checking to see how the top box is coming along a little slow, a little bit here in the middle, but what else is different about Florida? Africanized bees. Yeah, Africanized bees. So basically those killer bees that come out and kill you in all those bee movies from the 70s and maybe the early 80s, or maybe it was the 70s. But anyway, a lot of bee movies. Look at all the stuff they put on the bottom. I have to clean that off, huh? That's the bottom of my feeder. Yeah, so we got to worry about Africanized bees, which I didn't have to worry about in North Carolina, but here it's a thing, and that's partially why you have to register them and have inspected. And the other thing you have to do, which I'm not familiar with, is requeening. So I'm going to have to requeen come, I guess, the spring. I'll have to do that. So the idea is, so we don't want them to swarm, because if they swarm, they could go mate with Africanized bees, and that would be bad. So that's my understanding. So actually, now that we're getting into the colder months, I actually started taking the sugar off, which was attracting a lot of ants, and I'm replacing it with fondant. I'm still feeding them because, like I said, it's a new hive, and I'm pro feed. I don't know, maybe you guys are against it. You can put it in the comments, but I'm kind of pro feed. There's another guy I watch, very experienced guy I watch online. He always is pro feed, so I've kind of gotten to that, and I did well in North Carolina with that, feeding them, and I got my hive very strong in the spring, coming out very strong. And I think it was because I fed them a good amount. So I'm going to replace that. I had a hard time getting the bees out. They didn't want to come out. I was like, I'd keep pounding it up and down. How do you get the bees out of the feeder once they're in there? Boy, you got to tap them and tap them and tap them. They just like to stay in there. But and you can't really get down in that crevice to get them out. So I had to keep going up and down, backwards, up and down, trying to get them out. But eventually did, which is good. So this, like I said, new hive, new start in Florida. And I guess the next thing I want to do, just to make sure everything's going well, is make sure they don't have any hive beetles. Now, like I said, this is a brand new hive, but they could have come with it. And so I want to check. I'm going to put out some hive traps here. So I'm just going to open the top. I'm going to put these hive traps in. These are just your simple, those plastic little containers. Put a little oil in it. And the idea is you put them in the corner, and the bees chase the little hive beetles, and they go down into the trap where there's some oil placed in there. Oh, look at this. Yes, they are starting to work this top frames, which is really nice. I like to see that. Keep going, little bees. Anyway, back to the hive beetles. And so I put them in there just like this with some oil, and I'm going to check them in about a week and just see how they're coming along. And hopefully we won't have any hive beetles yet, but you just don't know. So there's a little vegetable oil, just filling those traps up, and put the top back on. And like I said, we'll check it back in a week and see how that's going. Hopefully it's good. So I'm going to take off. This is my last. I'm going to replace this fondant. That's the next step. Well, while we get that thing started, look at my suit. I had to get a suit. Florida bees mine are a little bit more nastier than my North Carolina bees were. I'm not quite sure. They just get a little bit more cranky. So after getting stung, you know, in North Carolina, I didn't really wear a suit. I had long sleeves and I did have the veil, but pretty much exposed otherwise. And these gals kind of found spots. So I thought I'd get a suit. This thing's not starting. Let's try again. So basically, I got it going now. Basically, what I want to do is just replace the fondant. I'm going to keep feeding them just because, even though they're still finding some pollen out there, I'm gonna keep feeding them just because it's winter. Yeah, so I'm gonna replace that, and I'm gonna check the hive beetle traps. We'll see if there's any hive beetles in there. Hopefully not. Hopefully we haven't gotten that far along yet, but we'll see. So just a week later, I'm taking off this old fondant here, I'm replacing it with a new fondant, and I'm going to check those hive beetle traps. A lot less ants with the fondant. That's a good thing. Let's just take a peek in here and see how. I mean, it's only been a week, but you know, they could chase. If there's a lot of them, there'd be a lot of them in there. And I checked the first trap, and nothing. Zilch. Great, excellent. Very happy about that. Check the second one. I thought maybe it's a piece of dirt, and then I saw little legs. That's a hive beetle. Okay, so we got one. That's not bad. The one, I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, put that back in there. Gonna put the new fondant on and let these guys go, and then we'll check back in next video and see how things are progressing. Hopefully you're gonna fill that box.